Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Berkeley Engineering Community College webinar series. This is the first of at least 10 webinars that we'll be hosting over the next 6 weeks, intended for students who are applying for transfer to Berkeley Engineering this fall, and students who that is maybe a year or 2 or 3 or 4 down the road, and you're trying to be very prepared now. My name is Nicole McIntyre. I'm the manager of transfer success initiatives for the college. So what that means is I work with prospective transfer students to help you all have the information that you need for transfer. And I also host a research program for community college students. And then I develop and run programs here for our matriculated transfer students. And so we have 2 amazing guests today, Sharon Mueller, who is our Director of Advising here for the College of Engineering, and Marvin Lopez, who is our Director of Student Programs. They are going to kick us off with a presentation. We will be looking at questions in the Q&A only, so not in the chat, but in the Q&A. I'll answer some as we go, and then we'll have time at the end for questions that have not been answered. All right, with that, I will hand it over to you, Marvin.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Sharon, as well, for being here. And thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. Before I get started with the actual presentation, and I see there's already a question. Okay. Let me play a video, and I know you're excited to come to Berkeley and looking at Berkeley, but let me get you even more excited with a nice video. So here we go, and we'll be right back.
What happens here isn't magic. It just feels that way because there is no telling what will occur when people, unsatisfied with the way things are, have the courage to imagine a better way and the freedom to turn what could be into what will. That takes bold thinking, disruptive ideas, and an amazing array of perspectives, people, and intellectual pursuits. But it's hard to capture something that won't stand still. That's Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Built by the people, for the people. Founded and forever inspired by those who had an unstoppable drive to build a new state on the Western Edge. We embraced the radical idea of a public university and never looked back. Hundreds of thousands of lives changed for people who then go out and change the lives of millions more in our state, our nation, and the world. That's Berkeley. Taking on today's biggest challenges. A revolutionary treatment for malaria? Check. Unlocking the secrets of the universe? Been there. Preserving Mark Twain for prosperity? Done that. We are always one step ahead. And sometimes that step is too big for words alone to describe. We express. We interpret. We reach further. We celebrate. And we are celebrated for our long tradition of untraditional excellence. Driven by a deep desire to do better, to do good. That's Berkeley. Life-shaping, world-changing, future-building.
Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Berkeley. Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Berkeley.
All right. Thank you, everybody. There we are. All righty. So thank you, everybody, for listening or watching that nice video. Hope you enjoyed it. So that is about Berkeley, but let me tell you a little more about Berkeley engineering itself, because that's ultimately what you're here for. To remind you, as Nicole mentioned, my name is Marvin Lopez, and I'm Director of Student Programs here in the College of Engineering. And my role is to support all of you when you get to Berkeley. So I and my team, along with my dear friend and colleague, Sharon, on the advising side, are here to support you. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, but that is ultimately what we do. But to tell you first about what Berkeley Engineering is all about, let me tell you first about our mission. And it's a simple three-part mission that starts with educating leaders, by which we mean that we educate people that are at the forefront of the profession, that push the envelope forward and don't want to just sit in their cubes, coding and doing engineering, but they want to push the profession forward. And so we educate leaders, educating engineering leaders. We create knowledge. We are the top, as you've probably seen, the top or one of the top 3 engineering universities in the country, and if not the world. And we do that by creating knowledge. In fact, just this afternoon, we had a poster session, just like you see here in the picture, of students that spent this past summer doing research on campus and other campuses. And so fundamentally what we're about and what students are about is creating knowledge. And we serve society. And I think that's something that you see in the video and that you see in the students around here. And that's something that we really try to encourage to our students to think about, and that they bring with you as a passion for making a difference, for serving society, for doing things that matter, for solving problems, and being mindful of whose problems they solve as they serve society. So this 3-part mission is what drives Berkeley Engineering. Some numbers, since we are engineers, we love numbers. There's 4,041 undergraduates as of our latest count, 12 single majors and 13 minors across 8 departments. And you see the individual majors you can take part of. I want to point out that aerospace engineering is our brand new major. It's our newest major that will be available to transfer students in fall of 2024, which I believe, Sharon, does that mean that they can apply now for transfer for admission in 2024, or they can apply into?
Right, they would apply next fall to start fall of 24 at Berkeley.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for that. So you see the majors there, everything from aerospace to nuclear engineering. More numbers about our faculty. We have 247 of them, all of whom are distinguished as people, as scholars, but who are recognized in a number of ways. And you see here from 107 chairs, endowed chairs and distinguished professors, to 74 members of the National Academy of Engineering, which is sort of the Hall of Fame of engineering. 24 distinguished recipients of Cal Distinguished Teaching Award, which means that they're not just academic scholars, that they're not just great researchers, but they're great teachers. And so when you come here, you'll have access to not just great faculty who research, but who also teach and care profoundly about teaching, as evidenced by the 24 recipients. And my personal favorite is the 6 recipients of the Turing Award in computer science. And this is, again, like the Oscars of computer science, in honor, of course, of Alan Turing. So they're not just 247 faculty who happen to be here doing research. These are individuals who care profoundly and are recognized as leaders in their field. Some financial aid facts across the campus, where 60% of our undergraduates receive financial aid. We have more Pell Grant students than all of the Ivy League schools combined. That is a fact. And 23% of our students come from households that make less than $45,000. And hidden in this figures is something I saw recently that says that that Berkeley is one of the top schools, if not the top school for social mobility. And so our students, what we do as an institution really transforms lives, and providing social and upward mobility for our students. I know you haven't gotten it yet, and you're still looking at being admitted, but I know that a significant number of our community college transfer students do go on to pursue their master's degrees, and whether it's terminal master's or the PhD. And so I want to point out these 2 very popular programs that I'm particularly a fan of. One is what's called the 5th year program, the MS degree, that is a 5th year, or it follows your completion of your bachelor's degree, that is only available for Berkeley students in most of the departments. And the other is the MEng, with the Master's in Engineering program through the Coleman Fung Institute for Engineering Leadership, which is also a 1-year program. Both of these programs are primarily professional focused and so industry focused. don't lead to the PhD, but are fantastic programs to enhance your education. So if you're thinking about graduate school at all, if you're not, I would encourage you to put these on your radar as you explore your next destination after your bachelor. And as Nicole mentioned at the very beginning, we, Sharon and I and all three of us are part of ESS, the Engineering Student Services unit of the College of Engineering, who's here for one reason. And that's the middle S of ESS, which is students. We serve and provide, and we exist for your support. And as I always like to say that you can't spell success without ESS, because all that we do is for your success. And what exactly is it that we do? We provide, first of all, academic support in a number of ways. We provide academic advising, we provide tutoring, deep dives, workshops on academic success, academic skills to make sure that that you're on target to complete your degree as scheduled, as per your program. We provide professional development. So we know that 2/3 of you will go on to careers in industry and professional settings. So we provide you with the professional preparation to achieve those goals that you have professionally. So you see here we have an etiquette dinner where we teach you how to navigate banquets. We prepare you in partnership with our career center to navigate the world of career fairs, interviews, etc., to achieve internships and research opportunities to help you get to the next destination. And something that we're particularly proud of, as you see on the bottom left, is our cupcakes and headshots where we provide you with a professional headshot and a cupcake. Food is very important as part of your as something you can have for your LinkedIn profile or any other profile that you may need a professional headshot for. We provide leadership opportunities and leadership development. So this is on the top right, you see what we call our leadership program, which is a retreat in the winter where students go away for 6 days to think deeply and profoundly about what does it mean to be an engineering leader? What does it mean to be an ethical leader? What mission do you have as an engineer? And so we help you spend time doing that. And there's other opportunities you see of different programs we have to develop yourselves as leaders, both individually and as part of student organizations. We provide psychological services and counseling when things may not go so well. And this is a tough place, it is rigorous, and we find ourselves at interesting times with different challenges that come our way. So when things don't go so smooth, we have an amazing team from our counseling and psychological services located here in our offices to work with you through whatever challenges you may have so you can overcome them and carry on to achieve the things you came here to achieve. And we have a number of programs, as I mentioned, as Nicole mentioned, in support of our community college students, starting with our signature program, T-Prep, or Transfer Pre-Engineering Program, which is a 3-week residential program at the end of the summer, just before the fall semester, where you get to spend, above all, build community with your fellow community college transfer students. You get to get a glimpse of the academic rigor. You get to do professional development, prepare everything from your elevator pitch through job offer negotiation skills, and you get to build a prototype or design a prototype to solve a societal problem, which is a lot of the pictures you see here as part of that process. And you get to pitch that idea, that prototype, to industry on the final day of the program. It's an awesome program that transfer students repeatedly tell us is the highlight of their career here at Berkeley, because it's all about building community that helps them, that sustains them for the next 2.5 years that they're here. In addition, this is a lot of what Nicole runs. We have programs like our transfer ambassadors that you see here. We call transfer success ambassadors, who are peers, fellow students like yourselves, whose job is to make sure that they are our eyes and ears for you, and our multipliers. They help us put on programs and define and create programs in support of all of you transfer students. So they're an amazing team that we rely on, and it's a new program that we just implemented last spring. We have the Transfer Center. This is a physical space in Satarja Daya Hall, which is not far from here, from our Bechtel Engineering Center that we currently sit in, where students come and build community, answer questions from each other, study together. Again, have snacks, that's always important. And tell us how they're doing and what else can we do with them and for them. It's a critical part of what we provide. We have a transfer mentor program, specifically second year transfer students mentoring first year transfer students. Nothing is more powerful than hearing from your peers how they succeeded and how they got through the challenges that you're facing. And next year, you get to be a mentor yourself. We have our transfer link classes, which are carry-ons or continuations of the conversation started in T-Prep. We have a transfer link 1.0 next year and a 2.0 for the second year. We have an STEM program for students that want to pursue graduate school. And one of the reasons why Nicole came to my team, which I'm very happy she did, is because she manages what's called the Transfer to Excellence program. And perhaps some of you were part of this program already, where a number of students in the summer get to spend time on campus conducting research before they even apply to Berkeley. It's an amazing program, an amazing opportunity. And I really, really encourage you to look into it and apply for next summer. And you see the link here. So what does that mean? So you hear all these amazing things we offer. You hear about the rankings, and we're number 1, we're number 3, depends who you ask. But what do these numbers mean? What it means is that you get to connect with an incredible community of scholars or passionate students like yourselves who are here to make a difference, who want to change the world. And so you get to connect with all of them. You get to innovate and solve amazing problems in amazing ways. And you get access to all kinds of opportunities to innovate that we'll discuss in just a minute. And you get to explore different courses, explore a different world, explore different places, but most importantly, you get to explore yourself and what drives you as an engineer and what difference you want to make. I mentioned innovation. We have an amazing array of opportunities to pursue entrepreneurship and innovation, starting with the Jacobs Institute for Design, which is where our TPREP program takes place in the summer, or part of it takes place at Jacobs, where you get to build prototypes. If you have an idea for entrepreneurship, you want to do literally a startup, you can go to the Target Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology and do a certificate there and learn how to create a startup. If you want to actually just get down and build a startup, you can work with the Skydeck Center and others. You see all these different opportunities for building the dreams that you want to build to make a difference in the world. Decals is another way to explore not just the interests you have, but interests you might discover once you get here. And these are courses or small classes taught by your peers, by fellow students. And Decal stands for Democratic Education at Cal. And there's literally every topic under the sun you can learn, from playing the bells at the Sather Tower to bioprinting and everything in between. There's salsa dancing, there's probably basket weaving if you're interested. There's literally everything in the sun, and you have the opportunity to also teach at Decal to explore and share your passion about a topic that interests you. So you're thinking, wow, that sounds great. Sign me up. How do I get there? So with that, I will turn it over to my dear friend and colleague, Sharon Mueller, who will tell you how to apply and get admitted to Berkeley Engineering. Sharon?
Thanks, Marvin. As Nicole mentioned in the beginning, in case any of you joined us a little late, I'm Sharon Mueller, and I'm the Director of Advising and Policy in the College of Engineering. And I'm going to talk a little bit about transfer admissions and what we're looking for. So maybe we can go to the next slide, Marvin. Thank you. So admission secrets. Well, we try not to have any secrets. We really try to be as transparent as possible about our process. We want you all to get in here too. So we want to be really transparent about it. I want to let you know that no matter what major you apply for within the College of Engineering, we use the same screening and scoring process across the board. So your application will be scored the same way, whether you apply for material science and engineering or mechanical engineering. You must apply, however, to the major you want to pursue as your first choice. I know that this year there is an alternate major on the application, and I suspect that might happen moving forward as well. We are not reviewing students for the alternate major, so you really need to apply to the major you want to pursue. Once you're admitted to that major, you cannot change your major within the College of Engineering as a transfer student. So definitely try to be very sure about your major when you're applying. Thanks, Marvin. So you have to have at least 60 transferable semester units in order to transfer. If you have any exam scores, you can get units for some of those exams as well. That's all on our website, so you can see what you would get for exams. But for most of you, I suspect that would be community college coursework. You have to have a minimum 3.0 GPA to apply to UC Berkeley, but in the College of Engineering, 3.5 overall GPA is actually our cutoff. However, there is a caveat. If your overall GPA is below 3.5, but you've done really well in your technical courses and your technical GPA is above 3.5, I encourage you to email this email here, esstransferadmissions@berkeley.edu, to bring this to our attention. And the best time for you to do that would be in January. So let's say you're applying by November 30th. In January, you will be prompted to fill out some supplemental forms that include your fall grades and what you are planning to take in winter and or spring. And at that time, it would be ideal for you to email this email if your overall GPA is below 3.5, but your technical courses have gone well and you're above 3.5 in your technical courses. We do require, oh, sorry, Marvin, thank you. We do require that you have 100% completion of the required courses prior to transferring. I'm going to show you in a minute what that looks like in Assist. And you're also encouraged to take as many strongly recommended articulated courses as possible just to strengthen your application, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. So what we mean by 100% of course completion required, that means that in Assist, and I'm going to show you this, there is a section for required courses. So you must have all of those done by the end of the spring semester. So let's say you're applying right now to be admitted for fall of 23. You have to have all of those courses done by the end of spring 23 in order to be eligible to start in fall of 23. We do not count summer courses towards that. So they have to be completed by the end of spring. And it's critical that you use assist.org for your intended major. So I'm going to show you in the next slide what we're talking about here. If we could go to the next slide, Marvin, thank you. So here's an example of an assist.org page. This one happens to be for the EECS major. So you can see at the top, required courses for admission. So within that section, that's what I'm talking about. That's what you have to have 100% done by the end of the spring semester before you would start at Berkeley. We can go to the next slide. Now, I want to point out that, and this is quite common, you'll see this on Assist quite often, that you might have at your community college, you might have two courses that are working for one course at Berkeley, or you might have a few courses that are working for a whole sequence at Berkeley. And what's really important is that you need to take all of those courses and not split those up with other community colleges. So for example, at this community college, you need to have both Physics 4B and Physics 4C in order to fulfill Physics 7B at Berkeley. That means you need to do both of those courses at that community college. There is one exception to this, and that is for Math 54, which at Berkeley is one course, and it covers linear algebra and differential equations. Many community colleges have those courses split up as one for linear algebra and one for differential equations. That's a pretty clean split. So that is one exception to this rule of the series, that if you do have if you have differential equations at one community college and do linear algebra at another community college, we will allow that to combine for Math 54. So that is the one exception to this series rule. Now, I did mention that we would like you to have as many strongly recommended courses completed as possible. So they're very clearly marked as strongly recommended courses in assist. However, we recognize that you may not have choices at your community college, and we understand that. So that is not going to be held against you. However, if you do have choices, like at this community college, there are quite a few choices for strongly recommended courses. We really encourage you to take as many of those as possible. We also recognize, however, that sometimes these courses just aren't offered. So they might be an assist, but maybe Engineering 15 hasn't been offered for 2 years and you haven't had the opportunity to take it. That would be really helpful information for you to share with us on your application. There is a part on the UC application, and it's called additional info. And it's really just sort of a blank slate where you can put in information that you weren't able to capture anywhere else on your application. If you see and assist that, wow, okay, it's listing all these courses, but these weren't offered at my school. They're listed here, but they just haven't been offered. Just let us know. Let us know in the additional information, because that is something we wouldn't know without you telling us. So our hope would be that you've had the opportunity to take some of these, but if you haven't, please do let us know. And, here's a school where there are no courses articulated for strongly recommended courses. So we know that's the community college you went to, and we know that you just didn't have that opportunity. So we're not going to expect that of you, and it's not going to be held against you in your application when compared to other students. If that's the case, however, I do want you to pay attention to the top of the assist articulation template. I know there's a lot of text at the top, but it is important, and we hope you will read through it. And you'll see that there is this comment. This is actually for the civil engineering major. If no articulation, students are strongly encouraged to take a course in statics and a course in computer programming. So we're not defining what that course is, but we're saying if you have a course in statics and you have a programming course, we really encourage you to take those. So if your school doesn't offer many of the strongly recommended courses or none of the strongly recommended courses, look at the top of assist and see if there are other recommendations. If there aren't, I still encourage you to take whatever programming and engineering courses are at your disposal, because even though they're not articulated, that is going to demonstrate to us that you are interested in this topic and that you've done well in these courses. And it just gives us more information with which to make a decision about your application. So there's another part of the application where you will be asked to enter your activities and awards, scholarships and programs. And what's really important to note here is we want to know what you've done since high school. So we honestly don't give a lot of, we don't pay a lot of attention to things that you did in high school. We really want to know what have you done since then. And so that could include clubs, that could include tutoring. If you've been lucky enough to do research, that would be a good place to put that as well. So that's really where we're looking for even more information about who you are and how you spend your extra time. And then the personal statement, they call them personal insight questions, PIQs. And there are 4 that you will be answering. One is required for everybody. And that's really an opportunity for you to tell us about how you've prepared for your intended major and what kind of brought you to your intended major and why you're interested in it. And then there are 7 additional questions, and you get to pick which 3 you want to answer. So try to pick the 3 that can really give us more information about who you are. This is really an opportunity for you to share with us who you are beyond the grades. So we read all of those. Most importantly, we want you to show a passion for your major. We don't want to get to the end of your application and wonder, why did this student apply to mechanical engineering? What is this student interested in? That should be something that you communicate to us in your application. In your your extracurricular section and in your personal insight questions. So we really are looking for you to show passion for your major so that we know that you know what you're going into and why. And then here are just some helpful websites. The College of Engineering Undergraduate Guide. In there, we have each major and we have course plans. So we have one for students who start at Berkeley as first-year students. And then we also have course plans for students who start as transfer students. So that just gives you an idea of what your time would look like at Berkeley. As a transfer student, you are allowed 5 semesters at Berkeley to finish your degree. Most students take advantage of the 5 semesters. It does give you 2 summers to do internships, so that's kind of nice. But the guide has those course plans. It also has all sorts of policies and procedures and information about each of the majors. And then there are degree worksheets also in the guide. That's just sort of like a 1-page snapshot of what each major, what the requirements are for each major. And then the department websites have a breadth and wealth of information about what they offer in their department and what you can do with that particular major. And then here are some additional resources. The Not So Secret Guide to Being a Berkeley Engineer is a podcast. I think we have been doing it for 5 or 6 years now. So we have a lot of episodes in the archive there. Many of them are focused on transfer students and transfer student experiences here and opportunities here. So you might find those interesting and helpful. We also have invited in campus partners to talk about financial aid, study abroad. So you might find those interesting to listen to. This is just the general Berkeley Engineering website, engineering.berkeley.edu. We all work in engineering student services, and so that's engineering.berkeley.edu/ESS. The Berkeley admissions website is also very important. This is the overall admissions website. And then in the College of Engineering, we have our own admissions website as well. And there are some FAQs in that website that might offer you some additional assistance as well. I think I'm turning it over to you, Nicole.
Sounds good. I have been busy trying to get through these questions. So we have time to answer some of these amazing questions in the chat. But some of these questions, and you definitely seem really interested to learn more. I want to encourage you to check out our other webinars. The next 2 will be a transfer student panel happening next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Scheduled that one a little later for those of you that have class or work. And that will be an opportunity to ask these kinds of questions to our current students. How did they choose their major? How did they build a strong application? What's it like to study for Berkeley? Where do they live, et cetera, et cetera. After that, we will have a webinar on the 20th about finding research opportunities as a community college student. You're asking about showing passion for your major. You're asking about opportunities to get on campus while you're still enrolled in community college, and this is a really good way. The first half will focus on broad advice for how to get research opportunities on any campus. And the second half will provide an overview of the Transfer to Excellence program, which is a program here at Berkeley where you can come to campus and do research with a Berkeley professor before you transfer. I also see questions about specific majors. We'll have some major specific sessions during that webinar series too. So those of you asking about EECS and computer science and what's the difference and which one do I apply to, we've got a whole webinar in November on that will be incredibly helpful. So I really, really encourage you to go in now, register now so that you get the reminder emails and you can keep learning. Is that the end of the deck? And
it is.
Awesome. So I keep getting questions about the slides. The recording of this session will be available online on that website that you see on your screen, engineering.berkeley.edu/cc, towards the end of the month. And you can go there right now and see the recording from last year. So if you're really eager, you can look at the recording from last year as well. So with that, I've got a lot of questions to ask you too, if that's okay. Where do I start? Okay, Marvin, you kicked us off. Is the ESS programming mandatory to students, or do they have the option to come to our events and our programs and everything that you covered?
No, it is not mandatory, though I wish we could. No, I'm just kidding. It is not mandatory. Everything we offer is entirely optional to you, but I can tell you that the students that take advantage of our services and our support do better, go on to achieve are more likely to achieve the things they want to do, land opportunities they didn't think were possible. So it really, really behooves you to take advantage of the things we have. So come see us, come to get to meet us, get to know us, but it's not mandatory. No, it is entirely optional. Though I should say, the program side, on the advising side, I believe they do have to come meet their advisors, and I'll let Sharon answer that particular question. But the programmatic side, no, it is entirely optional.
On the advising side, I mean, honestly, you could probably get through your degree without ever meeting with us. Although that's not true. I think you would have to meet with us at least once, but it depends on your situation. So some students are mandated to come in for advising, but many don't. I would say the transfer students do tend to take advantage of advising, though. There's a lot to work out with all the transfer work and everything. So it's usually helpful.
Thank you. Okay, Marvin, another question for you. The question was about study abroad and internship programs, as well as there was another question about co-op opportunities. Can you speak a little bit as to how the college encouraged students to do that and the opportunities that are available to engineering students?
So let's take one at a time. So study abroad. Well, actually, the sum total of those three, internships, co-ops, and study abroad. In particular, internships and co-ops I believe are critical to your professional development, and in particular critical to landing, if you're interested in industry, to landing your next destination, so your next job, your first job out of college. Study abroad is obviously not critical for that, but it provides you the exposure and the development as a person and as a professional to explore other cultures, other environments, other places that make you a better engineer, a more rounded, better rounded engineer. Especially, and I firmly believe this, that if you go abroad and you don't take technical classes, if you go abroad and take language courses or humanities, something completely unrelated to engineering, because in the end it is related to engineering and to make you a better engineer. So the study abroad office is here to support you, and we work closely with them and to help you through the process. Similarly for internships and co-ops, and I'll speak to co-ops in a minute specifically. But internships, same thing. We, through the programs that we provide, prepare you for the process of recruiting, from everything from the elevator pitch through job offer negotiation. I'm an engineer myself, and I came from recruiting, so I put on workshops myself on the whole life cycle of recruiting. We work closely with our career center partners for the same thing. And so, if you're interested and you want to spend the time getting ready, we have all the resources and the opportunities for you to get the knowledge and be ready. Co-op specifically, I'm a big fan of co-ops because they are, for those of you that don't know what a co-op is, it is essentially a 6 month to 8 month internship where you get to spend a significant amount of time with a company, with an organization, to get to know them and contribute to what they do, and to get to know you and see what you're about. So it's an in-depth opportunity to engage with a company. However, to do a co-op, first of all, to find a co-op, it takes a little bit of legwork, because as many of you know, they're not easily advertised. There's no co-op career fair. There's no co-op program. You have to find them through LinkedIn and through others. So if you want one, you have to find it and do the legwork, but they're out there, and companies are increasing their presence in the co-op world. But to do one, you have to work with the ESS advisor, because you do go away for a semester, and you have to work with the ESS advisor to make sure that your program is adjusted and you know exactly what classes you take when, and that you graduate, that you complete your program accordingly. So it's not like an internship that happens in the summer independent of school. Co-op happens during school, so you have to work closely with your SS advisor, but it's doable. And I know many students have done it, and having come from the recruiting and engineering world, I'm a huge fan of them. So all three are great and make you a better engineer. So I highly encourage you to pursue study abroad co-ops and internships wherever you go. Does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you. Another question for you, maybe Marvin, is could you speak a little bit about the support that exists for two different populations here at Berkeley, for students with disabilities and with students who are caretakers, so maybe student parents or students who are taking care of other people, dependents?
For disability, the students with disabilities, we have our DSP program. So there's the disability students program that supports students with disabilities in particular who need accommodations for tests and other physical accommodations. We do have the DSP program. For parents, student parents, I'll defer to Sharon to what you know about that space.
Sure.
I am not
So
an expert in that particular area.
Let me add with the disabled students program, students can get accommodations for their classes within the classroom, but also they could get a reduced course load. So Berkeley Engineering is a full-time program. We do expect students to be enrolled in at least 12 units every semester. For some majors, you'll need to take more than that just to graduate on time. But if you are registered with DSP, you might get a reduced course load. And so that just means that they'll recommend maybe 8 units for you each semester. If that's the case and you continue to take a reduced course load, we would adjust your graduation term accordingly, understanding that 8 is your limit for each semester. For student parents, there is a student parent center on campus, but I also wanted to mention that we also give similar accommodations within engineering for parents. And so if you are a primary caregiver, and whether it's for children or perhaps your own parents, you can apply for a reduced course load with us in engineering. And we often grant that for people who are also parents, and the same would apply that you could then request additional semesters in order to finish your degree. So with both of those populations, academically, we are here to support you, but there are also independent offices on campus that offer additional support as well beyond academics.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Ooh, okay, we got a lot of questions about admissions, so I might shift it over to that. First and foremost, Sharon, there's been a lot of talk about the second option, second major option on the application. And so students are asking, will my second option be considered? If not, why not?
It will not this year, at least. I can't speak about future years, but what we've learned from the Office of Undergraduate Admissions is that the second major option is on there more this year, at least, to sort of gather data. So they're trying to understand, okay, if students don't get admitted to this major, what would be their second choice? Honestly, it's not something that we can do to review students for 2 majors. We have a very short window within which we can read the 2,500 applications we get. And also, it can be challenging to make yourself eligible for 2 different majors and make yourself a strong applicant, because assist will look different depending on the major. A lot of the core courses are going to be the same, but the strongly recommended might be completely different. So it's really important that you focus on one major and try to get admitted to that one major. But I can tell you that this year we will not be considering the alternate major. We were actually surprised that it was on there. So it's more data gathering at this point. In the future, maybe Berkeley will be considering the alternate major, but not for this cycle.
Thank you. Okay, we also have a lot of questions about how are transfer applications considered compared to high school students? And are those applications compared, and how are transfer applications reviewed differently from maybe like an 18-year-old freshman's application?
Yeah, so transfer applications are read in-house. So in engineering, we read all of the transfer applications, and faculty also review them. That is not the case with freshman applications. Those are handled by the Central Office of Undergraduate Admissions. With freshman applications, we have an engineering undeclared option. We don't have that for transfer applications because we are expecting that by the time you're transferring, you have a pretty clear understanding of which discipline you want to pursue. We are looking for more evidence of your choice of major. Freshmen may not quite understand what's the difference between mechanical engineering and electrical engineering and computer sciences. And there is a lot of overlap, but by the time we see transfer students, we're kind of expecting that you've had coursework, you've had experiences that really solidify your choice in major. So that's a little hard. They're not compared with each other. They're completely different applicant pools. They're not considered, there's no cross-pollination of that. So there's a transfer pool and there's a freshman pool, and they're looked at completely separately.
Awesome, thank you. So to that note, could you speak a little bit about how recommended courses are weighed and how activities and awards are weighed? I know that there isn't a cut and dry answer, but folks are wanting to know more about the weight that everything carries.
Yeah, so there's no formula. We have no algorithm or anything where we plug everything in. I can honestly say that every application is read holistically. So I'm not going to lie, grades are important. So we do want to see strong performance, particularly in those required courses or strongly recommended courses. However, strong grades and nothing else is not going to do it either. So we're really looking for well-rounded applicants who have been able to manage somewhat challenging course loads. We are going to be looking for students who've been able to take 3 or 4 technical courses every semester and do well. If you're not taking that many courses, then I would encourage you to use the additional info section of the application just to kind of explain your situation. We know, if you're a student parent or if you have to work 30 hours a week, that's really good information for us to know so that we can take that into consideration when we're looking at your academic record. But yeah, it's not just grades and it's not just extracurriculars. We really take all of it into consideration. So I'm afraid I don't have a formula to share is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Another question that was asked is you were talking about GPA and the 3.0 versus 3.5, and you referenced technical courses. And some students were hoping you could be more specific about what counts as a technical course.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about technical courses, I'm talking about math, physics, chemistry, biology, any kind of science, and engineering, programming, statistics. Yeah, so STEM, what we think of as STEM is what I'm referring to with technical courses. And generally, that's the majority of your required courses and your strongly recommended courses. We consider those technical. The only ones that aren't technical on there are reading and composition, but everything else would be considered technical.
Thank you. Okay. We unfortunately have a few students who their course, especially PCC, their school doesn't have a physics series. and some other students just asking, what if my campus doesn't have required courses? What should I do?
Yeah, so we're aware of the Pasadena City College situation. We do not have a resolution at this point, and we will certainly honor those courses if students were lucky enough to take them before. However, now there is nothing at Pasadena that fulfills physics 7A and 7B at this moment. We are trying to facilitate, not me personally, but the campus is trying to facilitate a get together with Berkeley's physics department and Pasadena's physics department and see if there can be a meeting of the minds and see if we can get something articulated. But at the moment, there is nothing. So those students are in a bit of a pickle. And I would say my strongest recommendation would be to take it somewhere else, if possible. Take it at a hopefully close by community college that does have a physics articulation, because unfortunately, we don't have a resolution at this point. And the other physics series does not fulfill 7A and 7B at Berkeley. That has already been determined.
Thank you. I think one of the things that we've seen in the last couple of years is that more schools are embracing remote education. And so there might be an option to take it online, maybe. And there's a website called cvc.edu, which stands for California Virtual Campus. And that will show you online courses offered by community colleges. So if you're unable to drive to Long Beach City College for the course, maybe there's something offered elsewhere in the state that you could take remotely.
Yeah, that's a good point. We will take it as long as it's on assist. We don't care if it's online or in person.
Okay, we got some questions about essays and extracurriculars, which I'm going to continue to ask you, Sharon, if that's okay. Marvin and I and the rest of our team also review applications. So we've seen hundreds of these. So Marvin, please weigh in with your experience as well. How do I want to... I guess starting, how are application reviews considering the effects of COVID-19 and the ways that's affected our campus and also maybe affected individual students over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think, COVID-19, that was the heart of it, was spring 20. So it probably wouldn't apply so much to this group, but we definitely saw in reviewing applications at that point that we had students with, pass grades instead of letter grades, which is what happened at Berkeley as well. But for transfer students, we were only accepting pass, no pass for spring 20. Any courses taken after that, we are expecting letter grades, at least for those required and strongly recommended courses. We're also very aware that experiences have been limited, possibly not as many opportunities for internships and research or even to tutor. So that is something we're certainly aware of and keeping in mind. I know that we're experiencing on our own campus that students are somewhat challenged with adjusting to in-person again, particularly because maybe the depth of learning was not quite as extensive during COVID as it is in person. And so we've seen first-year students and transfer students having a little more challenges adjusting to the coursework at Berkeley, just because many of them had a year and a half of online education, which we know couldn't really compare to in-person education. So we certainly have a COVID lens when we're reviewing applications. And, I think we're certainly aware of many of the limitations that students have had during the last few years.
Thank you. We have a few questions about what kind of activities should I do, like what carries the most weight. And I think if I can give my take quickly, As Sharon said, you want to demonstrate passion for your major, right? So things related to your major, or even if that's just like related to STEM, not every campus has a civil engineering club. But I think the activities that carry the most weight in the application are the ones that you're able to talk the most meaningfully about. An application where someone has participated in an activity and they're really able to talk about how it influenced them as a student and like guided what they care about in life or in their career carries a lot more weight than someone who was in every single club, but we don't know much more about it besides the fact that they were in that club. So I think, there is no prescriptive answer that Sharon can give you, like, yeah, join MESA and join the math club, because it really comes down to what are you getting out of it and what can you write strong personal insight questions about. To answer another question, the things in your personal insight questions can absolutely be in your activities and awards section, but you don't want your essays to just be explaining your activities and awards in sentence format, right? Like your essay shouldn't just be saying, I joined this club and then I joined that club and then I did this internship and then I worked at Target. It should be talking more about you and letting us get to know you. Anything you want to add to that, Sharon?
Yeah, I would say that's a really good point, because sometimes we will see something in the activities and awards and we'll think, oh, wow, they had an internship for 6 months. That's incredible. And they say nothing about it in their personal insight questions. So that's, we don't want a list. We just don't want a list of this, like Nicole said, this, and this. We'd rather have you be involved in fewer things, but a more meaningful connection, a more meaningful involvement. So we don't want your personal insight questions just to regurgitate what you've already told us. But if you did have research, or you started a club, or you have been tutoring calculus for 2 years, that is something to talk about, that experience and how it solidified your interest in engineering. So we really want to know, okay, yeah, we see you did this activity. Now what? What does that mean?
And now that's that a little bit to your point, Sharon, that if you're planning, if you're starting out your community college career, and you're planning or looking at clubs to join, this is different than high school. So high school, there's this sort of sense of joining, 20 clubs, and and not only is it possible, the high school is often very possible to join 20 clubs and still do well in school. We don't want to see that. We want to see, to Sharon's point, 2 or 3 clubs, or a few clubs that, one, align with your passion for your major, and 2, where you've demonstrated a passion, a commitment, and growth within that club, that you've joined, as a member, and then you became, a committee member and a committee lead, ultimately perhaps, a leadership role, and you show that you've shown that commitment to that not just the club, but that field, that the work that club does related to your field, and the impact that organization has made to your community, to the college, to the field. That it's not just some a random club because somebody told you to join, but that there's a genuine passion for making a difference to the club and through the club, and talk about that and very succinctly, passionately, and very specifically in your essays. And I think that carries more weight than just a big list in a list or in your application of 20 clubs, random or even related. We don't we want narrow and committed, rather than broad and shallow.
Awesome. One more question. Will the person reviewing my essays have a technical background? Are they an engineer? Are they a professor? To what level should I write those essays?
Well, if I read it, I am an engineer, but I'm probably the only one in ESS, and then the faculty does read it. But either way, these are not technical. You're not speaking to your technical in technical details. You're speaking to your passion as a person pursuing engineering. So talk about in detail and succinctly and briefly, but in detail about why you want to be an engineer and why this particular engineering. Something when I always read essays, we see them, and as an engineer, I always find it amusing that many engineers many of you want to pursue engineers because you love Legos, you love taking the toaster apart, your dad bought you a computer, your mom bought you a computer at a young age, and so you want to be, and that's great, but that's sort of in the past, sort of what got you here. What we want to see is, what do you want to take this to? What do you want to leverage this knowledge of engineering, this passion for engineering, and do what with it? What difference do you want to make? Whose problems do you want to solve? Why are those problems important to you? They don't have to be right. It's not forever. You're not committing to this forever, but just give us a sense that you've been thoughtful about why this field, why this major, to what end. Again, succinctly, very specifically and personally, rather instead of the sort of generalities about taking toasters apart and taking the transmission apart. It's the why. Why do you want to be an engineer? And so tell us about this succinctly. And that's not about technical writing. So anybody can read that and see that passion. So don't worry about it, whether it's an engineer reading or not. It's anyone that can appreciate a genuine, authentic, passionate statement about your intentions as an engineer.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to kick it back to you, Sharon. We have some confusion about the assist.org information. And so I might share the slides again real quick. And so we can look at those for context, if that's okay. Okay, so one question is, why was physics 1A, 2B, 3C repeated multiple times on assist.org? So I think maybe here we might be talking about like physics 7A, 7B on the left, and then again, physics 7A, 7B in a box.
Yeah.
And then someone else is asking, what does this articulate as course to course only mean? And I think those are related answers.
Yes. I know assist it's a little bit confusing to look at because the template on the left, those are the Berkeley courses. That's the same for every community college. So it may or may not apply to your community college. So in this case, physics 7A at Berkeley is physics 4A at this community college. That's a course to course. That's a 1-for-1 articulation. A student could take physics 4A here and then to go to a completely different community college and take the equivalent to physics 7B. That's fine. What they couldn't split up in this situation would be physics 4B and 4C, because that's a 2-for-1. So that's 2 courses at community college for 1 course at Berkeley. So they need to take both 4B and 4C at this community college in order to fulfill 7B, or just go to a completely different community college and fulfill it elsewhere. But so course to course is 7A equals 4A. That's 1-to-1 articulation. Same thing with math. Math 3 is math 53. That's course to course. But some courses are in a series. And so the reason this template on the left, that's the Berkeley courses, the reason that's listed that way is that you might be at a community college where physics 7A, 7B, and 7C equals 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D. And there's no way to split that up because 4A doesn't equal 7A. All the content is all mixed up. And so that's why you have to take all of those courses to fulfill the physics at Berkeley, if that makes sense. Sometimes at community colleges teach things in a different order than at Berkeley. So what we teach in 7A, maybe it's taught in 4C at your community college. And that's why there can be series to series articulations. But you're welcome, as long as you've done the full articulation for that Berkeley course, you're welcome to then take the next course in the series somewhere else. Does that clear things up, hopefully? I guess we'll see more questions if that didn't clear things up.
So one question is, my school only has a course for physics 7C. So can I skip 7A and 7B, or will I have to do something else?
You'll definitely have to fulfill physics 7A and 7B somewhere. That's required for every major, minimally.
I think if I can summarize the TLDR version, if it's a required course, you have to complete it. My brother has applied for transfer to Berkeley multiple times and he didn't take physics, so he didn't get in. So if it is required, you have to take it.
Yeah.
If it is recommended, you do not have to take it, but we're going to expect you to take it and really hope that you take it, especially if it's, only if it's offered at your community college. But I see a lot of questions about, like, if it's recommended and I don't take it, is that going to hurt my application? And yeah, it could. Also, if it's in one of those bold boxes, take it at the same school. Right? Like,
yes, that's it. That's it.
In a box, take it
in a box.
If
yes.
It's not in a box, you know, if you're taking math 1 at Laney and math 2 at Ohlone, that's more permissible. But if it's in a box, take it at the same school.
Yeah. And just to not, hopefully not confuse things too much, the only exception to that is the math 54. We do allow the split of the box with differential equations at one school and linear algebra at another. That's the only exception. Otherwise, if it's in a box, you got to take the whole thing.
So if our CC doesn't offer Physics 7C, we have no chance of getting in. Well, not every major requires Physics 7C, so that depends on your major. But yes, you would have to take it elsewhere. If you do not take a required course, you do not meet the requirements for admission, unfortunately. Does this mean that PCC students are at disadvantage now since they articulate physics?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. And as Sharon said, that's something that everyone is working very hard to address. Where can I find which community colleges provide strongly recommended courses?
Oh, you know, I don't know if there's any magical way to do that. It might be just a tedious process of looking at the community colleges around you. A lot of the ones in the Bay Area do, because, you know, they kind of are catered to transferring to Berkeley. But yeah, I'm afraid I am not aware of any easy way of doing that other than looking up by community college.
Yeah, I agree, unfortunately. Okay, maybe the last 2 questions, because we are at time, unfortunately, but like we said, there are many more webinars to come. How do admissions view an upward trend in grades?
So an upward trend is good. That's good news. I would say, and this is a general statement for anybody who might have some kind of anomaly on their application. I think I saw a question in there about withdrawals. I will say, if we see a lot of W's on your record, that is going to be concerning, and we are going to want more information. So, or if you've had to repeat a course, we're going to want more information about that. So that's where that additional info section on the application can be really helpful, because that's where you can explain any kind of anomalies in your record. So if you have an upward trend, I think we would be looking for kind of an explanation of what was happening earlier in your community college career. You know, sometimes someone starts and it was a false start and they need to take some time off and then come back. We understand that that happens, but we're often looking for you to kind of help us out in understanding that when we're reviewing the application.
Thank you. One more question. I might have 2 more for you, Sharon. Sorry. How long do we permit transfer students to enroll at UC Berkeley? How long do they have to complete their requirements?
5 semesters.
Thank you. And finally, this is a loftier question to wrap us up. Students are asking, what does showing your passion for your major mean? How do we define passion? And if you haven't had the opportunity to participate in many things related to your major, how would you suggest they approach sharing that in their essays?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible they've had, for instance, no mechanical engineering courses, or, you know, no internship, no research. That's kind of to be expected. We would want to make sure that they understand what mechanical engineering is, and to explain what about that is exciting to them. So it's, we understand they may not have had experiences or even courses that could do that, but then explain to us, what is it about mechanical engineering, for example, that is exciting to you? What do you hope to do with your degree in mechanical engineering? There are ways to show your passion for math, for instance. You could be a math tutor, or you could be part of the math club, or be a mathlete. There are ways to express your interest in math, and we know math is really important for engineering. So that's good too. Those are activities that they could do, because we know community colleges offer math. So we know they may not get specific to experiences for their major, but at least that they can explain that they know what nuclear engineering means, and they can tell us what they hope to do with their degree.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Marvin, you want to add?
Yeah, if I could, a little bit. Something that I would encourage you to or encourage students to think about it, to Sharon's point, that you may not have the opportunity to do an internship or do research, is pursue a self-guided project. So if mechanical engineering is something you care about and robotics is something you care about, build your own robot. That's a small robot. It doesn't have to be, a life full-size butler, but a small robot that does something specific. And I know students have done this, and I have community college students that have done this. If bioengineering is your passion and you built a small, assistive device, show that you're having that something it doesn't have to be a paid, that you care about this so much. It doesn't have to be an internship. It doesn't have to be a paid opportunity, that you did it on your own. And there's low cost materials you can get out there. There's ways you can get things, materials to build things. But if you show you've done something on your own to pursue that passion, that speaks volumes to define that passion. So, try that approach and speak about it, of course, in your essay.
Awesome. Thank you. With that, we are over time. We got through 131 questions.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, the recording will be available at the end of the month at engineering.berkeley.edu/CC. The recording from last year is available now. I think I found during this session that sometimes students ask questions that had already been answered during the presentation, so it might be helpful to rewatch. I'm sorry that we didn't get to all of the questions. A lot, might be answerable through a Google search or in our follow-up webinars, which, as a reminder, our next one is about the student experience, and it will be next Wednesday at 7 p.m. So if you haven't registered, I encourage you to register now. We will also be asking those students your questions from the chat. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, Marvin, and thank you everyone who attended. We will see you next week.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Take care.